Hi, this is Peggy from Warsaw. Our guest today is Prashant Matta, who's a partner at Panache VC. Panache is specializing in pre-seed and seed stage startup investments. So thank you so much for being here. And would you like to tell us a few words on Panache before we jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Peggy. And it's always great chatting with you. As Peggy mentioned, I'm a partner at Panache Ventures. We are an early stage venture fund focused on startups in Canada with 4 offices: Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver. I lead the firm's investment and portfolio management activities in Toronto, Waterloo region. Overall, our philosophy is to bet on Canada and Canadian entrepreneurs, and we're one of the only funds that focuses coast-to-coast investing, which we're proud of. We invested in about 70 companies across the country. At the pre-seed seed stage, we would invest up to $500,000, and probably about 10% of the portfolio is in the fintech sector.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So we're going to use that expertise and your overall expertise for the next question. So from your perspective, what will be the major lasting impacts of COVID on the financial services industry?
Yeah, and honestly, that's something we're thinking about every day. Things are evolving fairly quickly. COVID-19, as hard as it's been on health and the economy of a lot of different countries, our view is it's helped accelerate and pull forward technology innovation in several industries that were laggards, right? So other than some of the industries that are in bull market like e-commerce and logistics that are seeing a lot of momentum, the industries that are laggards or in technology adoption are now finally waking up and recognizing the need to adopt solutions that can help those businesses be more effective and efficient. And so, there's obviously the negative side of COVID, which is the health and economic impact. On the positive side, we believe the world will obviously look fairly different post-COVID, but there will be a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs to build new solutions and also help industries that will go through digital transformation in the coming years.
Yeah, and this acceleration is really something that we see whether you speak with fintech, VC, or bankers. That's really the main theme. In terms of regulations and policies, what do you see maybe popping up following COVID? Obviously, in Canada, open banking is always a topic that comes up because everyone is thinking of that. What's your thought?
Honestly, I hope because of COVID or in general, I just hope that we don't come up with unnecessary regulations. I think in the end, when COVID hit, I spoke with a lot of my friends in financial institutions. They were frankly focused on getting VPN working at home, right? And so I think the priorities have shifted a little bit, but I do hope that COVID is a catalyst for financial institutions or in general industries that will go through a lot of technology adoption. And I just hope that regulation doesn't become a barrier, because we need to move fast. We need to build and ensure that there are right structures and foundations in place. Now, open banking, we've talked about it in many different shapes of form. We have yet to see movement in the Canadian landscape. I think our European counterparts are slightly further ahead. So hopefully we can catch up to that and see what we can do around that specific topic. And other than that, I think data and privacy continues to be a big topic. I don't think that's going to go away coming out of COVID. I think it will only accelerate as a lot of the financial institutions adopt more technologies and open up to their consumers and businesses. So I think open banking, data, privacy will continue to be topics that will be top of mind post-COVID.
And I know you invested in QoHash, the cybersecurity company in Quebec, which I thought is a great company as well. What do you think in terms of cybersecurity? I've been looking more and more into that with the huge increase of attacks. You touched on privacy. Do you think it's something where we're going to see some actions? I don't hear at all from regulators on that topic, or I hear very little. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think that was happening pre-COVID anyways, and now it's just accelerated in terms of the cyber attacks and security risks. We've got two investments, QoHash and Tailscale, both helping enterprises and businesses with those challenges. I think we'll see where the financial institutions, what they do when it comes to the sensitive data sets that they need to protect. But right now, I think the immediate concern for a lot of them is we've got employees working at home. And so how do we ensure that employees have the right access, the right tools to do their jobs, but also keep data that is sensitive, perhaps protected. And so I think that's an additional element from a cybersecurity perspective, which companies like QoHash and Tailscale are attacking, which I think is going to be an amazing opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs to build new and innovative solutions there.
Yeah, definitely. I see, a lot of consolidation as well in the space from, just point solution to platform. So hopefully whether they up, whether they acquire, whether they're acquired, but a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, and I think, financial institutions, they have massive teams and budgets that are dedicated to cybersecurity. And I don't think that's going away. I think that's only going to increase over time. So we're excited about companies like QoHash and Tailscale, because I think they'll not only provide and add value to these customers, but also from a longer term perspective, gives them an opportunity to build massive businesses.
Yes, exactly. That's all we wish them. If I take a step back and I look more at the macro environment, so obviously we see a lot of sovereign debt, potential inflation, isolationism, interesting things happening at our neighbor south. So what do you think COVID will have on the financial stability, the global financial order from your perspective?
So my view is, I think the near-term focus is to get the global economy out of COVID and getting people back to work. I think that's critical. And so, I think the central banks have been fantastic in moving fast. I mean, nothing's perfect, right? Everyone's adapting and executing an environment which we have never seen. And so I think in the near term, those are the right aspects. I think the challenge would be longer term. We've got all this debt. What do we do, right? And so I don't think anybody has the right answers there. Is that going to result in higher taxes? Maybe. What does that mean for consumer and businesses? It's all TBD. I think everyone's focused in the near term to get the economies working again, and I think that's the right focus. So that's more on the central bank actions. I think something we're noticing in our portfolio, and at least in our fintech portfolio, I think companies operating in investments or operating in trading or operating in payments or infrastructure have been performing very well. Call it the Robin Hood effect or whatever you want to call it. Those businesses have a lot of momentum behind them. I think the ones that are perhaps challenged a little bit are more around lending, because they're still unclear and there's not a lot of visibility around SMBs and consumers and how they're going to react. On one side, you've got consumers that have savings that they've never seen, and obviously that's going to go deployed somewhere. But on the other hand, you've got SMBs that are hurting, and a lot of them, a lot of them cash flow is their lifeline. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens there on the commercial debt side of the business. But I think the situation is evolving and everyone's monitoring. So I just sure hope that we can get out of this situation sooner rather than later, so that we can have these SMBs open again and consumer spending again.
Yeah. That's and it's interesting seeing that second wave coming in Europe and also obviously in North America. And I don't think the economy can sustain another lockdown. So or are we more surgical in our approach to manage the cases, right, but also the economy? So that's still TBD. So there is something that's interesting in terms of resetting competitive positioning. Some people think there's going to be a flight to safety, so flight to the bank. Some people think that, well, fintech is going to benefit from that because obviously everything is going digital. What's your perspective in the new landscape? Who's going to be the winners in this post-COVID or mid-COVID world?
So, I think it's hard to pick winners. I think, if you talk to the bankers, they all seem bullish based on their expectations of when the economy may open up again. A lot of it depends on vaccines and to what extent we can roll those out, right? But from a long-term perspective, I think a lot of my friends in the banking world or in financial institutions remain bullish about the prospects. I think startups are seeing a lot of pull from the market, which I think is exciting. I don't think they could have predicted that. I think when COVID hit, a lot of startups, including fintechs, were worried how their businesses are going to be impacted. And I don't think anyone could have imagined, NASDAQ doing what it's doing at the moment with unemployment rates that we haven't seen in decades. And so I think my view is, I think, yes, there will be winners and losers. I think it's hard to say who's going to win or lose. I sure hope in the end businesses and consumers win, and as we get out of COVID. But bottom line is, we're super excited. I think we're super bullish on tech entrepreneurs and startups in the fintech space. And I just think there's going to be a ton of opportunity for them to build.
Yeah, and it's a good transition to my next question. You're obviously more on the fintech side, but you've worked in large organizations. You're very familiar with traditional players. Where do you see their transformation going? Probably more strategic partnership with some of your portfolio companies, but what's your perspective on that?
So sorry, just to clarify the question, you mean how these companies are going to build partnerships with financial institutions?
How do you see financial institutions transforming? So very often they have challenges transforming from inside. I saw a lot of strategic partnership in the past, in my previous lives, in my current life as well, actually. Is it something that first is the way FI is going to use to transform? And in which direction, which areas maybe you think is going to be their priorities?
So I think financial institutions, at least the ones I've worked with in some of our LPs, I think they have been working with startups even in the pre-COVID era, and they continue to do so. I don't think that's going to change. I think the priorities may change depending upon how the business landscape for those institutions evolves. But my expectation is, I think they're going to be a lot more open and probably have the ability to move a lot faster to work with startups or to test new technologies or to test and adopt new solutions. I think one thing COVID's demonstrated is how big institutions, how slow moving they can be. But overnight, they were able to ask their employees to work from home, and business has been running, right? So now they've recognized that this can be done with help of technologies and by partnering with fintechs and startups. So I think in some way it's a catalyst for financial institutions and a realization that I think they already had that in their roadmap, and now it's just pulled forward by a few years. So in terms of areas, I remain bullish on infrastructure opportunities. We're an investor in Flinks as an example. We're an investor in a company called CoraPay, which is building B2B payments infrastructure for West Africa. We remain excited about opportunities there. Payments will continue to be a hot category. It always has been, and the number of exits we see in that specific category is quite exciting. We've talked about open banking. We've talked about data security and privacy. I think all those things are going to be relevant and stay relevant. Do I think that fintechs or startups will suddenly take away a big chunk of a bank's business? No, I don't think that. I think depending upon if you're let's say you're building a neobank, I think those neobank startups will still continue to partner with financial institutions. And so I don't think the banks will disappear. I think there'll be a lot more lot more forward with in terms of partnering with fintechs, and probably a lot more open to testing and adopting new solutions.
I agree with you. You know, it's always interesting when people say, oh, well, the banks will disappear. I'm like, well, you probably don't understand how the economy works. I don't see, you know, our governments or regulators leaving it to Google to manage the financial flow in Canada or in France. But anyway, it's another conversation altogether. Last question. So during this last 6 months where you've been working from home, what has changed with you? Did you pick up some great new habits? Are you working out 3 times a day, eating only vegetarian food and stop any alcohol? What's the new Prashant?
None of that. I'm actually, you know what, I feel grateful and lucky to be in tech. I think, you know, my friends that are in other industries that have been hurt by COVID and the crises, you know, when I speak with them, I can understand how tough it can be. For some of them, they've had to shut their businesses. And so overall, I feel grateful and privileged to be in tech and to be able to work from home and still run our firm and still run the business, still make investments, still the portfolio is looking great and performance is good. So I feel great about that. I have never been great at working from home, so I am looking forward to being back in the office. I think, you know, a lot of folks say that real estate's dead. I don't believe that. I think, you know, maybe you know, the footprint for a lot of companies in terms of real estate changes, of course, and contracts, but I don't think office is going to go away, and I think they're going to become more of a collaboration space than anything else. And employees will go back, perhaps from a flexibility perspective, a few days a week. That's just my view on it. I'm certainly looking forward to going back to the office and getting back in some sort of routine. On the personal side, you know what, family's good. Everyone's been keeping healthy. We've been going out for runs, playing tennis, trying to get out, do outdoor stuff. I sure hope that if there is a second wave or a second shutdown, that we continue to be outdoors in some shape or form and keep healthy.
Yeah, it's been very important, I think, to go outside our home, you know, even if you cannot make it to the office, at least, you know, try to go outside. And being in Canada, you know that the winter is coming fast and furiously at us. So you also want to capitalize, you know, to the largest extent. But thank you so much, Prashant, for taking the time, and it was great insight. So it was very fun as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great chatting. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.